Day of reckoning. Tim McVeigh is put to death for the Oklahoma City mass murders. We'll have an eyewitness account from CBS's Byron Pitts, an interview with McVeigh's attorney, and a report from the city where wounds may never heal. Deep trouble as remains of Tropical Storm Allison make a deadly sweep through the South. And Eye on America. President Bush eases up on government regulations for business. Tonight, the price you may be paying for that.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. On the day a truck bomb blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City, President Clinton promised swift, certain, and severe justice. Today, 33-year-old Timothy McVeigh was executed for the mass murder that took 168 lives, including 19 children, including babies. Our coverage begins at the federal prison in Terre Haute, Indiana, where CBS's Byron Pitts witnessed McVeigh's death.
This morning on the shy side of sunrise, before the broadcast, before many of his fellow inmates were even awake, Timothy McVeigh slipped on his shoes, spoke to a priest, and took the walk only dead men take.
Inmate McVeigh was calm throughout the entire process.
Calm, but not the menacing mass murderer the world will remember in the orange jumpsuit with the soldier stare. The booze of that day replaced with dead silence. It was graveyard quiet when the curtain pulled back, and there lay a man strapped to a gurney, white sheet to his neck, IVs in his leg, and a date with death that could be delayed no longer. 7:08 a.m. Central Time. McVeigh, pasty-faced, looking thinner, with dark circles under his eyes, turns to his lawyers and mouths the words, "I'm okay." By 7:09, he's pulled his head up, looked each of the 10 media witnesses dead in the eye. His eyes spoke defiance, but his deep breaths and pursed lips seemed to whisper despair. No final statement, just a handwritten note, the words of a 19th century poem about defiance and death. My head is bloodied, but unbowed. 7:10, the first drugs administered. It puts McVeigh to sleep. 7:11, the second injection stops his breathing. 7:13, a third stops his heart.
Timothy James McVeigh has been executed by lethal injection. He was pronounced dead at 7:14.
First the warden.
Good morning. I'm Byron Pitts from CBS News.
And then the witnesses told the world.
Timothy James McVeigh died with his eyes open.
And he almost looked proud of what had happened.
Pride, perhaps, but also pain for his friends.
If there is anything good that can come from the execution of Tim McVeigh, it may be to help us realize sooner that we simply cannot do this anymore.
Pain and peace of mind for the survivors and victims' relatives who watched him die.
I wanted him to see me, to somehow let him know that you didn't break the spirit that you thought you were going to break.
The president spoke.
The victims of the Oklahoma City bombing have been given not vengeance, but justice.
And Paul Howell smiled for his daughter who died. As he watched McVeigh take his last breath, Howell says he and some of the other family witnesses held up pictures of their loved ones, pressed them near the glass.
How tough was that? Pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. Because that's my love. I'll do anything in the world for her.
6 years later, 168 funerals passed. The body of Timothy McVeigh was taken away in a hearse. And for many, some measure of hurt rolled away with him.
The execution took 4 minutes. It felt like 4 days. Dan?
Byron, looking at McVeigh's face, his eyes, did you see anything that looked even remotely like remorse?
Dan, I gotta tell you, no. I saw no remorse. Just a man about to meet his maker.
Byron Pitts in Terre Haute. Thanks. About 300 protesters for and against the death penalty demonstrated and prayed quietly outside the prison. In Oklahoma City, for many people insisting on justice, this day was a long time coming. CBS's Bob McNamara has that part of the story.
An hour till dawn, buses shuttled 232 bomb survivors and victims' relatives to witness the execution on a closed-circuit television feed. While at the downtown bombing memorial during the death hour itself, some relatives brought flowers, some left prayers, and others left tears at the empty chairs that honor those killed by McVeigh.
He owed it to us to at least show some remorse, and he got the easy way off.
A remote building on federal prison land is where the execution was witnessed. And those who saw it were almost stricken by McVeigh's stare into the camera they were watching.
It was like he looked right through me and through the, I don't know, it was almost like the devil was inside of him looking at us. It was so eerie.
Sherry and Jay Sawyer, after the execution, visited the memorial chair of his mother, who died so violently at the hands of McVeigh.
He went to sleep. That was it. He went to sleep.
Unlike my mother, who was in the 4th floor and fell 4 floors and was found in the front of the Murrah building. Just seemed too easy for him.
Many here said they saw death come for the devil.
He's not remorseful. That's all I could think. He's just a demon. This man is just full of some kind of a demon.
He's a mass murderer. He's a mass murderer. End of statement.
Glenda Riley, on the left, after the bombing, found no comfort today.
What has been torturing you, you felt like you've been giving in to torture for so long, winds up being nothing but a corpse. And that's really hard there, seeing that that's all there is left of him.
Today, the Oklahoma City Memorial Museum closed another chapter in its history of the bombing by updating a plaque that McVeigh had been put to death. But making peace with what happened here will not be easy.
In a way, it's kind of bittersweet. He's gone, we go on living. Our loved ones are gone, we still go on living. And we have to make the best of it.
I don't ever see that there's going to be an end to any of this.
And there probably won't be an end to it as long as conspiracy theories persist here that Tim McVeigh was not acting alone. Dan?
Bob McNamara in Oklahoma City. One of the last people to talk to the murderer is Robert Nye, his attorney. A short time ago, I asked Mr. Nye why the killer made no spoken statement in the moments before he was put to death.
I believe in part because he didn't think there was anything more that he could say that might not be misinterpreted or hurtful, and he didn't want to be hurtful.
He admitted to the bombing. He remained publicly unrepentant. But you say you believe that justice has not been served by this execution. Why?
I think that justice cannot be served by any execution. We have reasonable alternatives to capital punishment that don't create additional victims. They are completely capable of keeping somebody convicted of an atrocious crime isolated from society for the balance of their life. For that reason, I think that justice is defeated when we kill another human being.
Would it be breaking your client attorney privilege to tell us what the last words McVeigh said to you were?
I believe that it would. Those words were spoken to me in the context of an attorney-client visit. But I'll tell you that they were positive words, and they were words of kindness.
We'll respect that, and I thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rob Nye. McVeigh's criminal accomplice, Terry Nichols, is in an Oklahoma prison tonight, a few blocks from the bombing site. He is awaiting a possible trial on state murder charges that could yet get him the death penalty. Nichols is currently serving a federal life sentence for conspiracy and involuntary manslaughter. What was Tropical Storm Allison, the first of the season, is now among the worst rainmakers of any season, proving again that tropical storms don't have to grow into hurricanes to cause death and terrible damage. Days after the tropical storm was downgraded, the heavy rain moved east today, leaving a legacy of death and devastation in Louisiana and Texas, especially Houston. CBS's Mark Strassman is on the Weather Watch.
Allison today showed more flashes of temper in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. still angry but less vengeful.
Right now, it seems to be moving along at a fairly good clip, so we wouldn't expect the kind of rainfall in the southeastern part of the United States that we experienced here in Houston.
It's completely surrounded by water.
Allison hovered over Houston, dumping 3 feet of rain and $1 billion in calamity. Widespread weekend flooding turned freeways into rivers and subdivisions into lakes. Much of America's fourth largest city was in water and dangerously over its head. At least 17 Texans died. When floodwaters left, victims returned. 20,000 of them found damaged homes. Disaster struck this store owner twice. First nature, then looters. Houston's Memorial Hermann Hospital made its own 911 call. Its basement flooded, all its power lost. Every patient was sent elsewhere. 570 people. Today, FEMA's director made a house call, touring damage that will keep this hospital closed for another week.
An example of how much water is left. In this downtown Houston parking garage, I'm standing in about 3 feet of water. Below me, there are 2 more parking levels. That's about 25 feet of flood water. And in downtown Houston, there are 15 other underground garages just as flooded as this one.
We've had the worst tragedy this city's ever seen. When you have over 30-something inches of rain come down in a few hours, the city just can't handle it.
In one case, even rescuers needed rescuing. A National Guard truck carrying victims slipped into a submerged ditch. Everyone aboard found land again by boat.
We were scared to death.
Javier and Allison Cantu rode out the flood at home, huddled on this bed and terrified, along with their children and their pets, watching water creep higher around them.
When the water started going back, we prayed hard. We said, "Thank you, Lord." He answered our prayers.
This street sign seems like a bitter reminder of a long weekend when people here waded through misery. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Houston.
Next year on the CBS Evening News, facing heat on global warming policy. President Bush on his first trip to Europe. And then later, Eye on America, business supporters of President Bush and the cutting back of some federal safety regulations. The U.S. Supreme Court redrew the line today, separating church and state. Ruling 6-3, the High Court said religious youth groups have the right to meet in public schools after class hours. Also today, in a 5-4 decision, the justices said it is an unlawful search if police use thermal detectors to look inside people's homes without a warrant. In this case, the police used the device to detect plant lights inside a marijuana grower's home. President Bush is flying to Spain tonight, his first overseas trip since taking office. Topping his agenda are European concerns over global warming. Just last week, a new White House study said, yes, man-made pollution is heating up the planet. And as CBS's John Roberts reports from Madrid tonight, many in Europe want Mr. Bush to feel that heat.
With protesters in Europe promising massive demonstrations against his environmental policies, all President Bush could offer today was a commitment to more research on the causes of global warming and technology to combat it.
My administration is committed to a leadership role on the issue of climate change. We recognize our responsibility and will meet it at home, in our hemisphere, and in the world.
Europeans have been stunned by what they see as American arrogance on global warming. Mr. Bush's decision to unilaterally abandon the Kyoto Treaty to cut emissions of greenhouse gases. Environmentalists found nothing in today's announcement to celebrate.
A vague set of promises to do more research is not what we need to protect the planet. We need to start cutting global warming pollution today.
The White House felt compelled to say something about global warming before the president's first European visit. But sources tell CBS News there was concern among some administration officials that the statement was long on promises, short on substance. European leaders are willing to listen, but are looking for action.
If the research is seen as merely a pretext for avoiding action, then I think President Bush will not get the support of the European leaders.
The Europeans will be watching President Bush this week for a commitment to cooperation, not just on global warming, but other issues as well. What they have seen so far has created an image here of a go-it-alone gunslinger willing to do anything to make sure that America gets its way. Dan?
John Roberts in Madrid. Sources at the Environmental Protection Agency say the Bush administration will deny California's request for a waiver of a federal gasoline additive rule. California and its Democratic Governor Gray Davis had hoped to boost fuel supplies and hold down prices. And oil companies promised to meet clean air standards without the ethanol additive. But farmers in predominantly Republican states who grow ethanol-making crops opposed the waiver. Up next, Eye on America. From phones to baby products, is less regulation good for you, the consumer? The safety debate heats up.
The CBS Evening News and tonight's Eye on America segment are sponsored by fast-acting Mylanta Supreme. Tastes great as it works.
President Bush has made no secret of his lack of enthusiasm for federal regulation of business. And after almost 5 months in office, his approach to this contentious issue is becoming clear. Tonight, CBS begins a two-part Eye on America series examining both sides, starting with CBS's Wyatt Andrews with the consumer advocate's view.
Tom Riley calls it an outrage that Verizon, the local phone company in Massachusetts, is still basically a monopoly. But Riley, the Democratic state attorney general, doesn't blame Verizon. He blames the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission in Washington, now chaired by a Republican.
The FCC, in our judgment, or at least in my judgment, let them off the hook prematurely.
Riley says the FCC, led by the Bush-appointed chairman Michael Powell, ducked an opportunity in April to lower access costs that would have allowed competitors to enter the Massachusetts telephone market.
And the damage that can be caused is going to be felt by consumers, just people in their homes making ordinary calls.
To consumer groups, the FCC phone case in Massachusetts is part of a larger pattern of regulatory decisions coming from the Bush administration. Both the president's policies and his nominees, these critics believe, reflect an anti-regulation, hands-off ideology. Examples. At the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the Bush-appointed chairman, Curtis A. Baer, is a leading voice against capping energy prices in California. At the FTC, the new chairman, Timothy McVeigh, is a known critic of government investigations into monopolies. But critics save special outrage for Mary Sheila Gall, the chairman-designate of the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
She constantly blames the consumer.
Gene Kimmelman of Consumers Union says Gall has resisted regulation of dangerous products like bunk beds and has blamed parents for the problems of the now infamous baby bath seat in which 78 babies have drowned.
She shows very little interest in imposing responsibility on manufacturers and wants to always focus on whether consumers may have not been 100% attentive.
Last fall, Gall told CBS indeed parents and not the bath seats were the problem. In all but 3 of the drownings, she said, parents or sitters left the infants alone.
We have to face the music. We have to say, parents, caregivers, change your behaviors to protect your children. We can't just say, oh, it was the product.
At the White House, Budget Director Mitchell Daniels explains the president will only support regulations that are sensible and cost-effective. Daniels argues it is pro-consumer to ask the price of a federal rule.
Costs of regulations ultimately are borne by consumers. The regulation may apply to a manufacturer, but the cost of complying with it is always passed on to a consumer.
Still, in 2 areas of the economy, energy costs and phone competition, the effects of hands-off ideology means that consumers pay high prices now for the promise of competition later. In Washington, Wyatt Andrews for Eye on America.
Tomorrow night on CBS, The Other Side, you'll see and hear why businesses large and small feel overburdened and overwhelmed by government regulations. On this day, when the mass murderer was executed, we remember not only a singular act of cowardice, but thousands of acts of individual bravery. Minutes after the killer ran for his life, rescue workers began risking their lives to try to save their neighbors. When Rebecca Anderson saw this scene on television, she jumped into her pickup truck and sped 9 miles to downtown Oklahoma City. She was a nurse, and she was needed. The 37-year-old mother of 4, wearing no helmet, entered the most dangerous place in America. She pulled one survivor from the rubble, then another, and another. Then Rebecca herself became a victim. A piece of concrete hit her on the head. Days later, she was dead. But she wasn't done saving lives. In accordance with her wishes, 3 people in need received her kidneys and her heart. And what a heart she had. Rebecca Anderson has a place of honor at the Oklahoma City Memorial. Like so many other brave Americans that day, a hero amid the horror. And that's part of our world. There'll be more about the legacy of Oklahoma City, the execution of the killer, other interesting inside stuff on 48 Hours, Day of Reckoning, tonight at 10, 9 Central. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you soon on 48 Hours.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News.
This is CBS.